Why do you think that pornography breeds so much shame in the viewer, in the life of that person?
Yeah, I'll have to answer that question from a personal standpoint because I
Yeah.
haven't, just from my own story, why it brought shame for me. A good part of that could have been religious, actually. I wonder a lot about that because I grew up in a very Orthodox Jewish environment
Yeah.
where we were, women were encouraged to dress a certain way, cover the collarbones, their elbows, and their knees. So it's it's a possibility to me that that contributed to some of the shame. I was looking at much more than collarbones and knees. So
Yep, yep, yep.
the other part where the shame got very intense though, right,
Yeah.
to the point of demoralizing, right? If we have a different word for shame,
Hmm.
right? Like at the highest peak was when I had committed to doing something or not doing something and then I wasn't able to anymore.
Yeah.
It's like nothing more demoralizing than that. And pornography doesn't lend itself to really be spoken about easily.
Hmm. I agree.
So all of that, it's not a conversation. Everyone knows that everyone watches porn. Porn, or a lot of people watch porn. The average person watches porn.
Yeah.
But admitting a dependency on it
Mm.
is very, very difficult. So
Hmm.
just a conversation around porn was hard. And then the added shame, the demoralization of saying, I'm never going to do this again and failing,
Yeah.
that's just shameful. I felt like a total piece of shit. I have no
Yeah.
other way to describe it. I'm never going to do this again.
Yeah.
And 48 hours later, I'm back.
Do you think people put an unrealistic expectation on themselves of like, I'm never going to watch porn again? And then, the cycle happens.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. What's interesting is that now the way I think about it is if a very intense urge comes to watch porn,
Hmm.
I will, my strategy is this: I'll journal,
Mm.
I'll call at least 3 people until one of them answers.
Yeah.
And then if I still want to watch porn after that's done, and not to talk about anything, obviously, I'm going to journal about the urge, where I think it's
Exactly.
coming from, everything else, what's going on, and then speak to someone, right? But not just one phone call, and then if they don't answer, give up. A lot of people don't answer calls. So to try a few
Hmm.
people, and then if at that point in time I still want to watch porn, then I'll go ahead and watch porn. But
Yeah.
what's interesting is I haven't gotten there.
Yeah.
In
That's
three and
awesome.
a half years, I haven't watched porn. So it's somewhat counterintuitive, but when you say I'm never going to watch porn again,
Mm.
then when the thought comes, maybe I should or I really want to, just in right there, there's just those two competing thoughts right there have a lot of struggle. If I say
Yep.
I am going to, if I really want to, but I don't want to, and every time I feel like I want to, I'm going to take these steps.
Mm.
And if I still want to, okay, it doesn't create that same kind of intensity. It's not like
Yeah.
someone
That
running
like
at you and
on a
pushing you.
tangent. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Totally. What are some of the negative effects that you think pornography has had on our society, our culture?
For me, the number one biggest effect was it numbed me to everything.
Mm.
So not only sexually, that too,
Yeah.
where I just needed more and more. And it sets a standard that doesn't exist. Porn stars don't look like porn stars.
Mm.
Meaning if you saw a porn star in real life, they don't look like they do
Yeah.
on behind a camera. So it numbs that aspect of it, but that's not what I mean. What I mean for the most part is my own emotions. It numbed me. I was like a log of wood going through life when I was
Yeah.
on porn.
That's so true. Just like turns you off to anything else in the world.
Yeah, just that's the benefit. That's the payoff, right? When someone's feeling a lot of anxiety, or when I was feeling anxiety, which is, loneliness and anxiety were probably the two main triggers, boredom. When
Yeah.
I'm feeling that discomfort, watching pornography relieves that, but then that runs into the next day.
Hmm.
And I run a business today, and I find that the single best way I know to interview someone is after I'm done, I say, "How do I feel?"
Mm.
And every person walks around with a certain aura or energy,
Yep.
and obviously at different times, someone may be in a different mode and they'll make you feel different. But you assume someone comes into an interview with their best foot forward, and then you say afterwards, "Okay, how do I feel?"
Yeah.
And I can't ask that question to myself if I watch porn.
Mm. That's so good.
I don't feel anything. I feel like a piece
It's
of
like,
wood.
I'm numb.
Right.
Yeah. One thing, other addictions can be outwardly seen. If someone's obese or if someone is an alcoholic, right? You can kind of tell, but pornography is such an inward thing. So where do you see the freedom for someone who is struggling with pornography?
Explain that question. What do you mean? Where do I see the freedom?
Like, if someone's like, I wanna stop watching porn, what's like the first advice you would say? Hey, this is the action step to take.
The first step to take. Ask the whole question again.
Just pornography it's such an inward addiction,
Right. Right. It's not seen.
It's not
right at all.
It's not seen. And so it's not like I could say, hey, I can tell you're on drugs, but I can't tell that you're watching pornography in an addictive way.
Right.
So what's that first step if someone confessed it to you that you would tell them?
Right.
Hey.
What you're saying is a very good point. The first part of it is knowing a lot of addicts in different fields. So even a drug addict has a secret component of their life.
Yep.
But it's very different. Maybe they don't want you to know they're doing it all the time.
Yeah.
Or in the morning. But what I've found from people engaged in pornography addiction heavily, or sex addiction more broadly, the level of secrets that they're able to carry and the presentation of being functional that they're able to manifest it's very extreme, and it definitely lends itself to that. So the first steps, that's exactly why I talk. That's exactly why I do these things. There are no good, for me, there wasn't that. I didn't feel that I could. One of the elements of my story that I find important is I was in therapy for 5 years prior to opening up to my therapist about my dependency on pornography. And we spoke about child sexual abuse, difficult with my parents, relationships. I had sessions with my parents, and we spoke about everything under the sun, my business. I had employees that I brought there. This guy knew everything about my life, but I could not bring myself to tell him that I was dependent on pornography for a number of years.
Wow, that's wild.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm so vocal about it, is because I've met so many people struggling in silence with this issue and feeling like they're the only one.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can break that for someone and help them realize, no, they're not the only one, then the first step is asking for help. And after that, it really depends, it really depends on what's going on. If it's a full-blown addiction, or some people it becomes a habit that they want to get rid of, but it doesn't follow the same trajectory as a addiction necessarily. So that gets more complicated, but just that first step of someone saying, if someone sends me a message and says, I don't know what to do, can you help me? Said, you already do know what to do, right? You've already.
You've already you're aware of it.
You've already asked. That's the first step.
Asking for help. Why do you think it's so normalized, pornography? It's like a vice for a lot of people. It's a, kind of secret thing on the side. But why as a society do you feel like we've normalized it so much?
Because it's enjoyable and people want to do it. And, that's been the zeitgeist in the world for a while. It's just moving to more and more permissiveness around us. Several months ago, I was speaking, I was sharing my story at a synagogue actually. And I said that, by and large, I mean, you have porn addiction, but then the other aspects of it, let's say a Tinder addiction, or someone's addicted to dating, or, that stuff. We're very comfortable objectifying in that way, and very comfortable using these sites that a lot of them are no more than, a lot of people use it for nothing more than a hookup app, which was crazy 20 years ago, 30 years ago. These were the early internet days. Hookup apps were considered very seedy. Now it's become mainstream, especially now through coronavirus. And what I said was that when I started the process of recovering from addiction, I also went celibate for a while, and I wasn't dating, I wasn't having sex, I also wasn't watching porn, but I wanted to see what would happen if for 6 or 9 or 12 months I had no romantic or sexual female interaction. And I found that decision was questioned more than any other decision I made, right? So if I said I was dating, I have 5 dates lined up this week, high five. I'm not dating for 6 months. Why not? So that's the culture. The culture is a lot of sexual permissiveness, and I think that goes along with pornography. People like it, people want it, and just keep pushing the envelope.
Yeah, it's so difficult because one side craves authenticity and craves real relationship, but then this, this thing keeps getting in the way of actually having true connection, even in relationship. Did you feel like it affected even your dating relationships when?
For sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Everything.
I think that relationships that when they connect is when there's one person is willing to be somewhat vulnerable.
Yeah.
And if I have an endless amount of women that I can look at endless videos of them naked, right? Endless women and endless videos. Then I'm less likely to take a risk with someone. I'm less likely to be vulnerable. I'm less likely to take a chance. And a lot of relationships start when you're kind of upset that someone hasn't reached out after a good date. And you text them, you're like, hey, what the hell?
Wasn't that great?
Right, but if I'm watching porn, I'm not texting what the hell.
Yeah.
But what the hell is where the relationship starts. It's like one person took a risk and said, hey, I like you.
Yeah. Oh, so good. I have just a couple more for you. The whole spirit of 3 a.m. is to normalize these tough topics and to normalize these conversations. And you're on camera right now talking about pornography with me. That's something that people don't like to talk about. It's uncomfortable. What is your advice to anyone watching this to overcome that fear of discomfort, to normalize these kind of conversations?
First of all, start slow. You found me because I did a TED talk called Escaping Porn Addiction. And some people will come to me and in the very first conversation say, I saw your TED talk. I get messages on Instagram all the time. I saw your TED talk and that's amazing. I can never imagine myself getting up on a stage talking about it. I was like, well, I couldn't either before I spoke to one person, right? So like, where are we starting with? And the goal isn't necessarily to speak to the whole world or speak comfortably in this way. This was tremendously shameful, but find that one person who's safe and say, hey, this is kicking my ass. I need some help. And whoever you're talking to, if they're honest with themselves, is getting their ass kicked by something else.
That's so
maybe in a different way, but.
Yeah, we all struggle with insecurities. We all struggle with something that is, the thorn in our side. But the second you're able to address it with the one, it just opens the floodgates for so much freedom.
Yeah, the paradox is that if you look, there's two paradoxes here. One is on the porn side, the drive for it. I mentioned loneliness as a major driver. Well, how do you think I feel after I watch porn? Less lonely? Of course not.
Yeah.
But in that instantaneously, I feel something that relieves the loneliness, and then a few minutes later, it starts to seep in again.
Yeah.
The real drive, though, is for connection, for real connection. And that's the sexual drive. There's nothing more powerful. There's no more powerful way to connect with another human being than to really let ourselves go. And that, I think, is the physical manifestation of letting ourselves go, right? True nakedness, true vulnerability, and then, right? Not to be too graphic, right? But an orgasm is relaxation, total relaxation in front of another human being. And a lot of guys I know have, they struggle with ejaculation with a real person. Why? Because they can't relax in front of another person. They're so used to pornography. That setting of a real person in front of them just becomes very, very, very different. So you have a drive for connection that ends up getting thrown into pornography, and it spirals out of control. It never feeds the need. And then on the other side of it is there's this thought we have in our head that if I talk to someone about this, they're going to think less of me. They're going to be further away from me. And it's just the opposite. Yeah. Porn doesn't make you feel closer to someone, and speaking to someone about your problems doesn't push them further away. It brings them closer. So some of my best friends are people who are working on this issue also, and we can talk about it.
That's so good.
Like, damn, this quarantine's been a bitch. I really want to watch porn.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, yeah, me too.
Yeah,
me too. And that's my struggle. That's where I want to alleviate stress and alleviate anxiety and alleviate, difficult feelings.
Vulnerability opens that door for true connection, and we think it's the opposite, right? We think, oh my gosh, you're never going to want to talk to me again, but it's the opposite. That's so good.
Yeah, and it's being able to ask someone for help that's the mother lode of vulnerability.
Yeah. Yep. Lastly, where can those listening find you or find out more about what you're about, what you do?
We can check out my TED Talk if you'd like, learn a little bit more about my story and what's out there. But I'm on Instagram at Eliyahu_Nash. So my full name, it's Elijah in Hebrew, Eliyahu_Nash.
Yeah, when I first saw Eli, I was like, wait, I thought it was Eli at first, but then Eli. So
yeah,
thank
Instagram,
you so.
I came late to Instagram, so I had to use the full name, Eliyahu.
Yeah. Someone already took it. Thank you so much for your time, for being honest and open about this. I so greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for doing this, and I really hope it helps someone.
Yeah, I believe it will.
So.
I believe it will. You have an awesome rest of your day.
You too. Take care.
Bye.